All right, Cancers, welcome to your January of 2016 Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to this type of astrology, do check the description down below because the signs are different. All right, Cancer, so this month kicks off with a Mercury retrograde on the 5th, which is over here in your technically 6th house, but right on the cusp between your 6th and your 7th. So I think in some regards, you might be rehashing, maybe rethinking about something in regards to relationships or one-to-one connections, but mostly in regards to your work or your daily activities or your routine in some sense. All of that's going to be in flux for about the next 3 weeks with this Mercury retrograde, and a lot of things transforming too, with the Sun and Mercury all going over Pluto in the 6th house. So it's really a great month to be open to change with the routine, be open to change with the work environment, and in that way then we're in alignment with these energies. And this is all a good time to just kind of pause for a second, rehash and rethink, and at the end of the month maybe make some final decisions involving this area. But this isn't that transformative. This type of thing does happen once a year, but we do have a Mercury retrograde over Pluto, which doesn't always happen during the this transit over Pluto every year. So that's the beginning, as well as Jupiter going retrograde in your 2nd house of finances and resources and your values in life in general. So where there has been, I think, expansion, and at least you're learning more about what you value in life, now for the next roughly 5 months, there's a rethinking, rehashing, redoing maybe some of the material aspects and values, or at the very least learning more about yourself in terms of what your personal values are, because usually a retrograde does tend to pull on the more introverted aspects of the planet. But still, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of wisdom. One thing I want to say too is that Jupiter rules that 6th house of yours. So it's a lot of that's in flux, both from Jupiter retrograde and a Mercury retrograde in the 6th. So with this, it's also good to maybe see how that routine is going, how that work is going, and maybe in the financial sphere, since you do have that 6th house ruler in the 2nd. So with that, it's also a good time to reflect on your philosophy, your outlook on life, as well as your communications with Mercury retrograde, and also the philosophical or spiritual avenues of life in terms of you getting some alone time and rest. Things like that might be needed, as it usually is with a Mercury retrograde. All right, so that is the 7th, 8th, and on the 9th, we've got a new moon in that 6th. So there are new beginnings this month with the work, with the daily activities, etc. And so it's a great time, this early part, to plant new seeds, but again, be in flux, be in flow. This new moon is going to be very transformative, conjoining up to Pluto, so again, be open to change. And there is freedom that maybe you're wanting to break free or revolutionize with to expand your horizons, and you can certainly have more freedom and more possibilities in your life, but it has to be grounded with this. With the square, it's got to be constructive and integrated with the daily stuff, okay? And in that way, it does become very balanced and constructive. Now on the 9th as well, Venus does go over Saturn in your 5th. So while your self-expression has been quite serious, or maybe your passions or your interests in life have been more serious or long-term, usually with Venus, it tends to lighten that up a little bit. So you get a little bit of a healthier dose where you can enjoy a little bit more the self-expression, the creativity, the fun, the playfulness this month, all the way up until the 23rd, when Venus will then go into your 6th. But it's been, more serious connotation with Saturn. So seeing how you can have both the seriousness and the enjoyment of that area. Now, with Venus ruling your 11th house and your 4th, maybe it's a time to take some things seriously with the home and family stuff, or with your health around the 9th, as well as with groups or networks or anything on a community level. Now, on the 18th, Mars trines up to Neptune, so you've got a lot of easygoingness to communicate, to share, to socialize perhaps, especially this middle part of the month. And that's a harmonious aspect here from your 8th, where I think you've had over many years this spiritual transformation of having faith and trust along the life path of beginnings and endings in life and changes in life, and that's very supportive this month. So around the 18th, I think it's a great time, as it has been, to continue to put energy into communicating, learning, reading a book, writing, that kind of stuff is where a lot of drive is, and if you can find that probably quite tranquil, in fact, around the 18th. Now, on the 21st, the sun goes into Capricorn, so here's where things start to shift in terms of your relationships. So maybe if there's a little bit of that reflection earlier in the month, but now your sun's in there. It's going to be in there for roughly the next month after that. This is where you're going to have the next new moon. So the focus, and it's a great place to focus this last couple of weeks, in terms of your new relationships, existing relationships, partnerships, all of this kind of stuff. And shining that torch, shining that light, maybe even gaining energy through, more of the interactive elements of you and your one-to-one connections. Now on the 22nd, like I said, Mercury's going over Pluto. So on the 22nd, there's that conjunction again. Now this already happened last month in November. So if you want an inclination of what, ideas or whatever changed with the work, the routine, the daily sphere, I'll give you a good idea of this. But again, with a retrograde, you're learning a lot. And you could even learn something that shifts on the 22nd. And you'll continue to be in flux with it, because then on the 25th, Mercury goes direct and then passes back over that Pluto on the 30th. So there's a lot of this shifting and bouncing around, change and transformation, specifically with your daily activities, also with your communication and your spiritual timeout. So good areas to reflect on and implement, I would say, around the 25th and 30th. Now on the 23rd, we've got a full moon in your sign. So this is very nice. Roughly 6 months ago, it's a time of new beginnings for a lot of you, with your goals, your drives, who you are, things that are important to you in life. So at the very least, if it's not a culmination of some of these things, there's an awareness of it. And you can really have a good understanding of self, and it's a good time to put the self energy that you'll have this later part of the month into the other areas of your life. Right? I think confidence, assertiveness, things like that can be learning quite a bit about and could be culminating. Now also on the 23rd, Jupiter goes over that north node, and your north node by this point is really getting into Leo. So this is for the next 2 years. The next 2 years is about you building your nest egg, you building your financial material security. You got a lot of support for that, especially this early part of the year with Jupiter. Now a lot of that's in flux, you're learning about it, but at the same time you're really learning about your life path here, and you can implement it on the same token. So good shift there, and you'll feel this going into February also. But all month, I would certainly be focusing on the attention of financial, material stuff, and having those solid values there. And a lot of that, like I said, could be you're seeing a lot of overarching perspectives on your worldview is changing. You're learning a lot more about how your worldview and your life path is in sync with and in relation to the financial, material stuff. Now, also on the 23rd, Venus goes into Sagittarius, so this is where you can start to enjoy, I think, a little bit more of the routine, the health, the diet, the time management, energy management, all this stuff that's been in flux with Mercury retrograde. So Venus goes in there, lightens it up. I think you can enjoy it quite a bit. Maybe even enjoying more self-improvement energies with self or with relationships. And then the month tops off on the 27th with Mars going into Libra, which is very nice. Neutral place for Mars, but much better than Virgo. So here, your self-expression, you'll probably be much more assertive in regards to that, in regards to your interests, your hobbies, fun, playfulness, etc. going into February. All right, Cancer, so have a fantastic month. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.